Hey everyone, welcome to ACEverything. My name is Andrew, and there's been a lot of talk constantly, especially in the fandom menace area of YouTube and with quartering and stuff like that. All they really talk about is SJWism and issues like that in modern entertainment, whether it be with Star Wars being the biggest one, obviously, um, Marvel, the MCU, um, most recently with DC finally kind of succumbing to it supposedly in Birds of Prey. We'll see if that actually happens. You know, we don't know for sure that that's actually going to happen. The film doesn't come out for another 6 days. We'll see what happens, but that's not the point. Let's talk about something where there actually is an SJWism issue, and that is on Netflix. I'm going to talk about 3 shows right now that I can tell you right now are major SJW bait and just major liberal propaganda, pretty much. Those shows are Orange is the New Black, kind of an obvious one. 13 Reasons Why, another kind of an obvious one. Yeah. And finally, most recently, a series that I watched called The Healing Powers of Dude. It wasn't so pervasive in that show, but my problem with that show, I'll probably have a full review coming up on that show, but my main problem with that show is it sets out to be a series for kids, but we explore. There's just a subtle jab with when it comes to um, teachers and their salaries in America and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. But Orange is the New Black is probably the biggest one. I don't know if you saw the final 2 seasons. It went from a show about prisons to a show which actually I think there is a real issue there. I think there really is an issue with our prison system that needs to be discussed and needs to be talked about, and really our law and criminal justice situation altogether that needs to be discussed. But we then went into immigration. It's the same thing they went with on 13 Reasons Why. You're talking about a show that's about kids in high school. It's supposed to be about the issues that kids in high school face, especially from the millennial generation and Gen Z. And Euphoria on HBO sort of does the same thing, and they talk about issues that I would say 95% of our generation does not face at all. But uh, I'm not saying rape isn't an issue that our generation doesn't that our generation faces, because it isn't. I'm not saying it's an issue that our generation doesn't face, uh, but they make it so pervasive on that show and make it look absolutely ridiculous, like beyond reasonable expectation. But Orange is the New Black, if you didn't see, there was even a point where they set up an immigration court within the immigration center, which I'm pretty sure you could not do. I'm pretty sure you could not do that. But beyond that, they also had kids and babies going before a judge on that show and being deported. Okay, if you do not know, and a lot of people probably do not know this, a child cannot be deported. A child cannot be deported until they are of legal age. Those kids would not be deported. A baby would definitely not go before a judge. It's I don't know if they were trying to be satirical or what they were, but they aren't nearly clever enough to get it done if that's what their goal was. Like, it was bad, and I guarantee you there are idiots out there that believe that people actually do this, and it made conservatives look bad, made Republicans look bad, made people in general look bad, made ICE look bad. These are honestly just honest people trying to do their jobs, and you're making them look like evil people, and it's ridiculous. And they over exaggerated the horribleness with which these immigrants are being treated and everything else. We can keep going on that all day, but 13 Reasons Why, a show that's supposed to be about the issues that high schoolers face, just went into third wave feminism and went into immigration as well. Okay, no, these are not issues that the average high schooler of our generation faces. They're not. And I don't understand why there are two key issues that you could go on to make a great show out of that you could actually discuss that are really issues that our generation faces. Cyberbullying is a legit issue. You know, generation past may shake their head and roll their eyes at me by mentioning those issues that issue, but it's a real issue that our generation does face. Cyberbullying is a real issue that our generation does face. There was a study, I can't remember from who, but in my next video I'll link it in the description. But there was actually a study done, literally, that found that this is the millennial and Generation Z are the most anxious and depressed generations in the history of the world. Like, our generation has more problems with mental health than any other generation. Our suicide rate is much higher. Depression and anxiety is a very pervasive issue that they could actually discuss on shows like Euphoria and 13 Reasons Why, and they failed to do so, choosing instead to talk about transgenderism and third wave feminism and rape culture and stuff like that. And I'm not saying rape culture doesn't exist. I'm just saying it's not nearly as pervasive. That's not an average high schooler's experience. It's not. I'm sorry. Saying that that's like an issue that the majority of high schoolers will experience is idiotic and stupid. I understand you have to over dramatize things because you're making a TV show, you want it to be entertaining, and I get that, but you still have to be at least slightly realistic, and they're not. You're talking 13 Reasons Why. You're talking about a show that really the original goal should have been exactly to set out to discuss mental health issues. I mean, it's about a girl that kills herself. Okay? I don't know what else you'd discuss on that show specifically other than that. Bullying. Now, there's always going to be bullying, let's be honest, but, you know, and then we go and we talk about racism as well. I'm not saying racism isn't still an issue, because it is, but the fact is it always will be, and there's nothing we can do about that. But again, just exaggeration upon the issue. We can keep going with this, but Netflix actually has gone into that field of just ridiculousness. And keep in mind, I am more of centrist, but two seconds ago, like just a year ago, I was actually very leftist. I was a big fan of Bernie Sanders. I'm still actually a big fan of Bernie Sanders. I don't know if I'd vote for him, but as the man himself, the person himself, I'm actually still a fan of his. But keep in mind, I'm very leftist, but there has to be a line where it gets to be too ridiculous and the exaggeration is too much, and it just gets to the point where it's just propaganda at a certain point. And that's kind of where Netflix has gone. They're not really at the original point where they were. On the healing powers of Dude, I'm going to actually discuss this probably more in detail. My biggest thing with this series is I don't really understand who it is meant for. It seems like it's meant for kids. I mean, for God's sakes, it's a kid talking to his dog. The show sets out to discuss social anxiety and mental health issues and stuff like that. It's about a kid, Noah Ferris, who has social anxiety. I have social anxiety, so that show pertained to me, was very appealing to me. I was very interested in it. It's actually, my wife just pulled it up one day. We just started watching it. We watched through that series in one night. That's how short it is. It's like 3 hours of entertainment, something like that, if that. But there's a scene where the teacher says that she still lives with her mother, and all the children are questioning, why do you still live with your mom? And the teacher's just like, well, I'm on a teacher's salary. It's very hard. I can't even afford an apartment. Okay, the minimum salary for a teacher in the United States is $35,000. That's more than me. I have personal friends that I work with that live on way less than that. We're talking maybe $20,000, maybe $15,000 less than that, and they live in a decent apartment and can pay for their own food, and they don't need government help of any kind. Okay, if you're making $35,000 a year and you can't at least afford an apartment, you're doing something wrong with your money. Okay, I'm not one of those people that says that like social media, like minimum wage shouldn't be raised. I actually do believe minimum wage should be raised. Probably not to 15 an hour, maybe like 11, but because it should be a living wage. But I'm not going to sit here. That's ridiculous. $35,000 a year and you can't afford to live on your own. That makes no sense. And that's one of my questions about that show. Who is this meant for? Because a kid's not going to get that. A kid's not going to understand that. Okay, I don't know if you're trying to slip in humor for adults, but it's not really funny. It's just dumb, you know. And that's kind of the way the direction Netflix has gone. And I mean, it's it's not any better with a lot of different shows. They've just kind of gone in that direction. And I'm not saying Netflix is terrible or anything like that. I have Netflix. I use Netflix. I actually like a lot of the stuff Netflix has on their programming. A lot of their original programming is good. I still plan on discussing The Witcher on the first episode of this podcast. I plan on doing with a friend, so I need to watch that. But there are a lot of different shows on there that are very good quality and very fun. But with a lot of the originals, they've gone in the direction of this SJW as propaganda. They really have ruined a lot of their own programming. I mean, when you're talking about a show that, you know, is supposed to be meant for the average high schooler and the issues they face, and you're discussing immigration and rape culture and stuff like that, you're not really achieving your goal. Same thing with the Orange is the New Black, a show that actually could have had a lot to say about the prison system, ends up going into immigration as well. What are you doing? And you end up losing a lot of the show's core fans, a lot of the show, just alienating a lot of the fans and stuff like that, and it's just ridiculous. So anyway, I just want to take the time to discuss these real issues in real entertainment. Like, I'm talking about like real actual SJW issues in modern entertainment, while other people waste their time pattering away about Star Wars and Mary Sue's and movies they haven't even seen in a lot of cases. Not going to mention names, but somebody who complained about Black Panther but hasn't seen Black Panther. You know, we can keep going. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. Yeah, I wanted to get this one off my chest.